So before we get started, we hear y'all listening out there with y'all finger scratching y'all butts. How about y'all show this channel some love?
Yo, Mana Squad, if you like any of the cards you see in today's video, make sure to hit up the affiliate link down below to TCG Player. You can help look up some of your local game stores in the process and help show the channel some love. And you know you got to look good while you play in order to play good. So make sure you hit up our link to Into the AM as well. We have the discount code down in the description below. Look, you got to listen to Kenneth the Heathen. He always says something about dripping in space and screaming. We don't know what it means, but do what the man says. And last but not least, hit up Heavy Play. Heavy Play is going to have some of the nicest playmats and deck boxes out there. Their magnet system between their deck box and dice trays and playmat is amazing, especially if you're playing at like bars, restaurants, stuff like that. You got to get up and move. There is no better way to keep all your stuff together, and you can show the channel some love in the process. Stay petty.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Command Center, where we like to put our favorite commander, maybe even yours, front and center. And you know we can't do it unless we play those three elusive letters, EDH. What does it stand for this evening, Hadoken?
You know what? I'm tired of telling y'all what it stands for because y'all should know this by now. But it's okay. It stands for evil doesn't hesitate. That's right. We are some degenerate mofos, and I roll out of bed trying to see if I can lower the bar even further. As a matter of fact, I think at one point I hit hell. That's how low I go. But anyway, what are we talking about today?
Yeah. So today we want to go ahead and introduce you all to a new format that we're trying out. Command Center is we're doing long form now, so people have been asking about it. They've been requesting it, so we're about to give it to them and see how you like it.
People have been threatening. That's what that is. Somebody said they was gonna come see us.
Yeah, I said asking.
Strongly
I was just trying to be polite, but yeah, it was a very firm suggestion. We're gonna just keep it long form, but we're gonna have some topics at bay. So we're gonna talk about petty and the philosophy of petty and what it means to us, because we tell people to embrace the petty and we preach the petty gospel, but maybe people don't even know what we're talking about. So we're going to talk about what petty means to us, how that goes into our deck building, and also just our overall philosophy when it comes to that, and how petty could possibly be fun and help enhance your game. So maybe we'll convince you to join the Church of Petty. We'll see. Derek, is there anything you want to tell the listeners before we get started?
No, I'm excited as this is our kind of our pilot, our kickoff episode. So definitely, if you let us know what you think in the comments as we're going. We're working out bugs, audio, video wise, that we're trying to get rolling as we get into this is kind of an ongoing series. But the best part is you get to hear us get unhinged without any constraints of having to fit into a time frame. So normally you get like a little bite-sized portion of an unhinged rant, and then we're like, we got to get within 15 minutes. We cut most of it. Now you just get all of it. So listen at your own risk. For those that listen at like 2x speed, good luck. You're going to get so much petty in such a short amount of time. It might be some sort of like medical danger. So I would consult a doctor before listening to us at 2x speed. I think that's a disclaimer we need to put out there.
That's right. Only you can prevent petty fires.
Only you can prevent this butt whooping.
The PSA we're trying to push. So let's just jump. I guess we'll jump right into our main topic, which is, as an intro episode, kind of the thing that we care most about. Like, Magic's cool, whatever. Hanging out with your friends is cool, whatever. But being petty is what we love. It's what brings us together. It's what brings us to Magic, and it's one of the things we care about most. So what we want to talk about, and this is kind of our Petty 101 kickoff episode of this more long form version of the Command Center. We want to talk about what petty means to us and our own definitions of petty, because I've noticed I've actually gotten some reactions to talking about my love of petty to people who don't really understand it, and I get some weird side eyes. So I think maybe if we can each, honestly, I want to see if we each define it, how close we actually have, or if we're just all over the place and none of us even call petty the same thing. So Sed, why don't you kick off the petty definition for us, and we'll see how close we all feel about this beautiful word.
Gotcha. And you said this is just my personal definition, or we're going to go establish as the actual definition?
You know what? Let's do all our personal ones, and then we'll just see the actual one and see if any of us are actually close. This is a fun little mini game for the episode.
Yeah. So the best way to even describe petty is to first just think back and reflect on situations you've been in a game where you were just drawing cards, having a full grip, minding your own business, playing a land per turn, playing very fair Magic, and then out of nowhere, someone comes and boops you for one or two. With a, let's just say, name a card, say a Secure Tribe Elder, out of nowhere. Just, hey, what was, whoa, what was that for? It was just turn two. What are we doing? It, so that starts creating something in my mind where it's like, okay, first opportunity I get, you're the first person I'm attacking. Why am I doing that? I have no clues. Because you hit me with a Secure Tribe Elder. That's the only reason I have. That's petty to me.
I like that. Ken, do you have your definition ready?
I do have my definition for petty ready, and I'm going to have to quote the great Tony of Stark for my definition of petty. If we can't protect the earth, then you can damn well sure what. Sorry, I
This
got
is a
tip top.
beautiful.
Sorry.
Honestly, I think that's what the dictionary said is what you just read. I'm pretty sure you quoted the dictionary, which is cheating. So I'm gonna
I
need you to back up.
apologize. No, no, no.
Stop
I
cheating.
apologize. A little Coca Cola
Okay,
went down the wrong hole.
cheater.
Like I said, when it comes to petty, I have to quote the great Tony of Stark from the Marvel Universe. If we can't protect the earth, then you can be damn sure we'll avenge it. And that's what petty means to me. See, nobody ever sees the clap. They always see the clap back. They don't know why you slap the person, and there's always a good reason. And that's why we do this. Petty is vengeance. The definition of petty is actually biblical. It is Ezekiel 25, verse 17. If you don't know what that is, you need to look it up. Sam Jackson made it very famous. That's all I'm going to say. But petty is striking those who decide to encroach upon you. You know what I'm
And you
talking
shall
about. That you
know
should
my
not,
name.
as the Lord, when I lay my vengeance upon thee. You know it, okay? You know this. That is what petty means to me. All right. So when you come at me like that, like to quote the great Morpheus from John Wick, when you come from the king, you best not miss. And that's what petty means to me. Okay. It's that righteous fury and indignation. It's 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 Ghost Rider mounting in his motorcycle for the first time. It is Bruce Banner's rage. To quote the great Bruce Banner, the secret is I'm angry all the time, and that's how I play Magic.
Okay, that was a honestly whatever was in the dictionary. We're gonna replace it with that. I think I like that version. Quotes and all. Anytime you can quote Sam Jackson in any sort of definition, I think that's a win. I don't know why I let Ken go right before me. I should have definitely gone second. That was a mistake. So my you think I would have learned by now. So I would say my definition of petty is getting even in the most mundane way possible, if that makes sense. So it's almost like, so yeah, I would say for me, it's at least getting even in the most mundane way possible. So if y'all know, if y'all seen the Grinch has a very specific form of like evil where there's slight inconveniences and they're not like he's the type to like, oh, I'm gonna change the spelling on your mail so it gets sent back to return to sender and they don't know where it goes. Bam, gotcha. Or like taking out half of your socks and replacing them with mismatching socks and you'll never know where the rest of your socks went and why they all mismatch. That is the type of thing that I take pride in. So for
Uh,
me, what I like to do is almost play things poorly intentionally just so I can particularly get one person back to let them know winning doesn't matter, playing efficiently doesn't matter, the petty matters. And I think my favorite, we'll get into like examples and stuff, so I won't dive into it now, but it's letting someone know that they messed up. Letting someone know what they did to you will not be forgotten. And it doesn't mean like one-shotting them, but it means doing things throughout the game to let them know that I remember and I will never forget.
So
So that
see,
is
I'm glad that you brought the Grinch up because I mean, and this is just a side tangent, but apparently the people in Whoville was throwing sex parties, and like there's an actual scene that actually shows like it's a bunch of stuff that was going on in Whoville that we didn't even know, but apparently that was going down, and apparently the Grinch had an evil secret backup plan where he made the Whoville stop making noise, which got them killed because the only way that they can stay alive is by making like a bunch of noise, and at the end of the movie, he got them to be quiet, which ultimately got them killed. It's a whole thing.
Ken, I think you downloaded the wrong movie.
No, 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 no,
I
no.
think you got.
I'm the Jim
was
Carrey
the
one.
was the Grinch just some dude in like some sort of
Green
like assless chaps painted green? Was that the?
with no pants on. I
I
think it
think
was
you
called
got
the
the wrong
Drench.
Grinch.
I think it was called the Drenched.
The oh, okay,
No,
there we.
but no, no, real talk. Like, was because somebody actually did the slowdown where they actually like cut into it, and like the Whoville people were throwing key parties and stuff, and I was like, wait, what? And they actually showed it in the video, and I was like, oh, this is just disgusting.
Yeah, I don't know about
So
that.
this is all brand new information to me. I'm
People go
worried.
search your
I
internet at your
will.
risk.
Yeah, I was about to say, don't Google any of that. Whatever you do, let use whatever sort of private browsing on a friend's computer and blame it on them because that's not something we want to
It's
take
just
any
like
responsibility for.
and like Annabelle is in all the DC movies.
Like the doll.
The doll.
See, now you got my attention. This is the type of
Yeah.
stuff that I'm into. You start getting into
If you,
spooky stuff, DC movies. It's haunted. Now you have my attention.
yep, she's
All
in
right.
all the movies.
So dictionary definition. I want to see if any of us got close on this. So the primary definition is of little importance or trivial. And then
That's
the
not the right
second
definition.
definition has of secondary or lesser importance, rank, or scale, petty. So I think
If you
it might be more of a colloquial or like slang term that
first,
how we use it.
no, no, no. First of all, you need because I got it right now, the Urban Dictionary
Oh,
version,
oh
and
no, no,
it's
I
literally
found there's another one. I got you. I almost it's so similar. Characterized by an undue concern for trivial matters, especially in a small-minded or spiteful way. That's what see. It knows me. Small-minded, right here. Let's go. Okay, so that's definitely he was prone to petty revenge on friends and family. So the trivialness of it, I think that's the thing that really jumps out as far as defining petty as well. It is over trivial stuff. Like honestly, when someone if we think about it when we play against each other, if somebody like Alpha strikes you, I don't think any of us really get mad. Like if someone crater hoops us, it's like, cool. Like next game, good job. But it's the little things. It's like you chose to bounce my commander when there were other targets and it was just completely unnecessary. Or like you mentioned earlier, your grandpa poked me for one on turn two. Now you just so yeah, I think the trivialness is I think if you get quote unquote petty over major game actions, you're just being salty. I think there is a scale in which pettiness dissolves into saltiness.
Oh yeah.
to be fair,
There's definitely a scale of petty because we don't want to go too far into petty where it starts getting into the territory of like, like being. I want to say vengeful, but I mean it's kind of the
Yeah.
territory we're in, but we're still not trying to take it too far. Like when we
Yeah.
talk about petty, we you said it best before. Like we want you to play petty, not be petty. Like
Yes.
keep all the actions in game, keep all the emotion in game. Don't let it extend to something beyond the game itself. Keep it
Exactly.
fun, keep it lighthearted. Keep your friends. Basically, that's what we're going for.
so the Urban Dictionary defines petty as Black Air Force One energy, and that's what I would have to define it as well. As a matter of fact, petty is a scale between minor annoyance and overt violence. You got to kind of hover in the middle between that. It's like I will smack you, but I will smack you. And that's what the level of petty rage goes for me. It's like this is so disrespectful. Like this is so rude. It's like it borderlines disrespectful. Like it's like one move before you owe me 2 minutes outside. And best believe we will be moving furniture. And I've gotten to that edge and never fallen over. But then after the game, I'm like, okay, let's go to a new game. But best believe Petty will carry over to another game. See, here's the deal. Petty has a lifespan. All right, and how egregious the act was, and this is actually I can actually show you a map of it too. Is actually inverse. It's actually inversely proportional to the act, how to the sustainability and life that it actually lives. So the minor the transgression, the shorter the lifespan. The bigger the transgression and the rudeness of it. I've had pettiness that has lasted 2 years at least, three maybe. I got some still going on right now.
And half of the time, I don't even know the reason for it.
I
R.I.P.
do.
to
I
the
do.
Scarab God every
I,
time it's ever
I
touched a
do.
board.
You want me to tell you
So
why, Derek? I can tell you exactly right. It was July 17th. I remember this. We was on a stream and you decided to do something egregious. I remember this day. It was July 17th at 8:45 in particular, because that was the day I let said go because of his encroachment in August of 2017 when we was at the Titans in Gwinnett, and he decided to alpha strike me in a situation that I wasn't even involved in. So I let that pettiness go because of July 17 last year during the stream, you decided to hop out of pocket and do some stuff that egregious that I didn't even wasn't even involved in. So that's why I'm still mad at you.
So you see
that's
how your petty, his petty for you trumped the petty for me. It basically it ran its course and got replaced by new
it's
level petty.
there's to quote the poet from Philadelphia. There's levels to this,
Yes.
and apparently there were levels to the petty. So
You're the horror fan, right, Derek?
horror, yes, I do love horrors.
I don't know what I can't say that word. I'm sorry.
No, no,
Horror, horror.
I
So
just
it's
it's more so for myself. I mumble a lot, and I can't mumble the word horror, and there cannot be recording. Yeah, so let's just. I'm
what?
trying to pronounce words. It's hard for me.
What's the scary movie that was somebody was following somebody and it was supposed to be a metaphor for AIDS?
Was it? It follows.
That's what it was. My petty
Bam.
is like it follows. All right, you got to touch somebody and pass it on to somebody else.
That's beautiful. You're a poet, sir. One thing I will say is I think if you're pettying right, and I think we could probably, you could tell like we all have slightly different definitions. I think we all embrace it in a little bit different ways, and that's what we'll get into with some cards and stuff in a little bit. But I think the one thing, if you're pettying right, your petty will never get confused for saltiness. If someone thinks you're being salty, that's when you're being petty, not playing petty. That's where you've probably crossed the line. If you're getting funny looks at the table and people look scared, you're not pettying right. There should be a it should be a communal experience of petty. There should be net enjoyment added to the game, not fear or awkwardness at the table. So this is not telling you to, oh, someone attacked me turn one, I'm going to be a complete doucher to them, to use the scientific term, for the rest of the game. It is finding those fun interactive spots to just let them know that you remember. The North remembers.
I have to disagree with you, Sir Derek, because
Really?
yeah, depending on the level of rudence the person is, I'm sorry, I'm gonna let the vinaigrette spread across the table. I'm gonna be the utmost douchey on that because I want the other people. I'm gonna use you as an example, okay? I want the other two people to know what happens when they decide to cross the fence. All right, and you're right. The North does remember, and they gonna remember the hell out of this.
So I guess that is a varying piece of it. Sorry, said.
No, like you said, there's levels to this, and so Ken's approach is he's gonna make sure you remember next time before you attack him again. What happened last time, which is a standard approach. It's a good approach, not a bad approach. Some people want to equal that force out a little bit more, where it's just like you threw this amount of force at me, I'm going to throw this amount of force back at you until someone calls ceasefire. So like I said, there's levels to it, and so we can kind of transition to the next step.
For sure. And getting into this next piece is going to be really, how does this pettiness and our love for pettiness define our deck building philosophy? So I want to talk really starting off, what is our general deck building philosophy? Because this is kind of like an intro into this. What do we look at when we put a deck together? I think every commander channel at this point has talked about the more concrete deck stats. If you need this much ramp, you need this much card draw, then this many lands. We're not so much interested in that, but we're interested in what type of cards or what type of decks do we build around that allow us to embrace like the fun aspects of that petty. So I don't know if y'all are brewing some stuff up. Said if you're ready, you can go ahead and kick it off, or I can take it for you.
Yeah. I'll start off. So typically, even starting off when I was playing Magic, starting to learn Commander in general, I think that I would be classified as a is it Timmy? That's like wants to do some intricate stuff here and there. Not necessarily combos, but like some synergies and some maybe some cards and combinations you probably may not have seen before. So that's where I kind of classify myself, starting off with my deck building. And then to kind of throw some petty in there is like, not only am I going to do some things that you may or may not have seen before, but I'm also going to have some keyword here interactions to possibly throw you off your game as well. And I think interaction is going to be the most important word that we probably say here today, because it does kind of get the game moving. It keeps the momentum going, and you're disrupting. You're causing action. So having that interaction there with some key pieces, whether it be removal, whether it be mill, whether it be bouncing spells back to your hand or exile, whatever it may be. Like I want to cause some type of disruption to your plan to actually stop and make you think for a second. So that's overall that's kind of how I build my decks. I kind of want to make you think for a second, which some people kind of hate.
Yeah. I was just about to say, I feel like that's a really good way to define both the commanders you get interested in, because I feel like most of the decks that you play said, if anyone hasn't seen or played with said, you're always going to be playing a commander probably that you haven't seen a ton. Usually it's a commander that isn't super highly played and has a lot of like layers to it. There's very few times that you'll play a commander and we all sit down and we're like, okay, we know exactly what your deck's going to do. Typically, we got to wait until like turn like 5 or 6 half the time and be like, oh, like that is what's happening here. Now I get what's going to be happening to us. Like it's very, especially in a world where like every commander has a value engine staple to it and you know exactly what the deck is doing. I would say your decks are unique in that it takes halfway into a game to figure out what strategy you're trying to use.
Yeah, pretty much, pretty much. Let's keep it moving.
Yeah. So, Kenner, you got something?
Yeah.
Got something
So
ready?
my theory to building decks, I'm more inductive with my logic. So I'll start off with a specific premise and then I'll formulate something from that. So then, for example, what do I want to accomplish? What is my main modus operandi when I'm dealing with the deck? And it's like normally it's trying to attack the issue from a way, okay, I haven't done this, I haven't used this before, or this is a nice combination, this is a nice synergy. And then I also take a Batman approach when I'm building a deck. Okay, if I play this, instantly I already know the perceived threat, especially if I'm playing with people that I've already played with. So now I got to sit here and come up with combinations and strategies to combat the way they're going to come at me. So now I got to sit here and think about all the potential ways that the basic ways they're going to shut down this deck, and then those smart assholes who like to try to think out the box and what can I do to get back to them, and then I always try to figure out a way to bounce back, and also like to hide I like to hide like mystery commanders inside of my deck. So most people don't know this, but when I build commander decks, 90% of my decks, I don't need my commander to pilot. As a matter of fact, they're just there to be a misdirection. Most of my decks will have 3 or 4 commanders in the deck that I use to play and actually have their own various win conditions that I can play around with. So basically, a lot of my commanders are feints. So it's just a way of getting around people's defenses and also subverting their expectations of if I've never played with them before.
One thing I also notice about you, Ken, that you are to me, become notorious in my eyes for is you love to start very slow and garner like sympathy through the game, and then by the time we catch on, which is why it's always kill Ken first. By the time anyone catches on, you have accumulated so many resources. And the thing is, you don't play the splashy ones. So sometimes you play resource accumulating decks, and it's like typical landfall BS where on turn 6 you have 30 lands and everyone knows you're a threat. You don't do that. You don't play fast mana. You don't play like Ristic Studies and stuff a lot of the time where you're just drawing a million cards. It's more subtle and it's slow. So you'll have these little baby creatures and you're getting an extra land here or an extra card there. And then by the time you get to like turn like 8 and the table has gone and shifted and killed 3 different threats, you have so many spells and so many lands in hand that no one can do anything with you. And you have answers for everything, and you have a bunch of 8 and 10 drops that somehow you're able to cast all in one turn. Every
So
time.
so what it is it's the theory of the frog in the boiling pot. So basically, most people when I play in a group, they don't realize that the temperature is actually getting hot. So everything feels safe, everything feels secure, and I'm like, that's the way I want it. So I'm slowly going to turn up the temperature, and by the time you realize it's hot, you're already dead. So the whole print, and it's also a psychological ploy if you think about it too. Whether we want to or not, we always it's a human instinct sometimes to feel bad for the weaker person. That's why when it's people who miss land drops, that's why when it's people who are almost dead from poison, that's why the traditional human lens from a psychological prospect is this person isn't a threat and I feel bad for picking on the weaker person. It's a psychological ploy that you can use on people because they feel somehow that they're picking on you or they're the bad guy. And here's the deal: I don't care about being the bad guy. I'll be the bad guy all day. My whole thing is I kick you when you down and and then step on your face when you look in the dirt. That's how I feel about it. And if you allow me to manipulate you from a psychological aspect, thank you.
Yeah, your strategy's only gotten better over time too, as more and more threatening commanders get printed. The more games I play with you, where someone sits down with the Voya or a Miram or some broken commander, now even if you were doing stuff, nobody would be looking at you. And now you double it with, oh, I'm behind. You get to very late in games before people start targeting you. Despite when Seth and I sit down, the first thing we say is kill Cam first, and it just does
Well,
not matter.
another psychological technique is like you literally hide in the shadow of the bigger threat. So, like the biggest threat on the table, that's fine because nobody sees you because it's like you don't. It's the moonwalking bear. Nobody notices the moonwalking bear in the room. It's one of those threats that's looming, but you're like, I'm focused on this because this is a threat that can kill me. Like the meteor that's coming is more of a threat than the dinosaur that's about to bite your head off. That's literally right next to you. So the whole time I'm like, just stay in the shadow of this. I'm cool
Yeah,
because once you guys suppress that threat, then already it's already there. Ain't nothing you can do about it.
imagine how awful a day a dinosaur would have had, yo. If this like little dinosaur was like running around about to get eaten by a T Rex, makes the like most epic escape of all time. Like if y'all ever seen the video of the little like lizard running away from all the snakes or whatever, like that level of epic escape is like on top of the world and bam gets hit by a meteor 2 seconds later, and it's just like just couldn't buy like just complete worst day ever. But I don't know. That's where my brain went with your dinosaur metaphor.
Well,
So
it's like if Spider-Man was fighting the Green Goblin, and just as soon as he beat him, some kid walked up and kicked him in the ding dong. It's like that. Like you don't see the kid kicking you with the ding dong.
perfect description. So I really appreciate that y'all have these like deep and gameplay and like philosophical reasons for building decks. I literally build every deck I've built has been I look for a commander with really cool art and then make something work from there. Um, Basically every deck I have and have ever built was like when new sets come out, anything, I literally just look at the pretty pictures and then whatever art I think is the coolest, then I'm like, okay, which of these is now playable that I can build a deck around. So like if something has like really spooky art or really awesome art, I will force that, and that's how most of my decks get started. And then once I have like the art I want for the commander, I want a vibe for the deck. So I want the whole art of the deck to kind of fit that vibe. So I could talk about like Indoraptor is a deck I've been playing a lot of recently. I love the art on that. It's like a gothic horror dinosaur. What's that they're not to love? And I want all the art in that deck to be kind of like old school magic cards, old borders, spooky stuff, kind of like metal looking cards, like that type of stuff. Or if I have Grim Grin is an easy one where it's a zombie deck with awesome Innistrad zombie art. I want all the most Innistrad looking things possible to give me that vibe. So I'm like into the game when I'm playing that deck. And they all kind of fit that same. I need to be like I want to be in the experience. Like I need to feel the vibe of what I'm playing. And that matters to me more than mechanics or anything else. Once I kind of pick that, because that's usually the hardest thing for me to really like just like vibe with the art and like the kind of the backstory and lore of a deck. Once I get into that, then the next thing I look at is basically that petty. I want when I build decks, I don't like to. This is gonna sound bad. I don't want to think too much. I really enjoy aggressive strategies. I don't like value engines. I don't like triggering 70 different things in a turn and like being passive. Every deck I want swings something big. I think the only deck that doesn't swing one big thing is Talrand that I have, and it's literally just cantrip. So I have 20 flyers, and I'm just gonna swing them all at somebody anyway. So it's just splitting up the one massive swing amongst a bunch of little creatures. But so many of my decks basically default to Voltron decks because I'm gonna throw equipment and things. I'm gonna make my commander big in certain ways, And my philosophy is like, I'm going to look at all this pretty art and enjoy my stuff. And the person who bothers me the most is going to have a big ass commander swinging at their face at one point, and that's just kind of the way it's going to go. But I think what defines me mine for sure is simple. I don't want a board state that's going to clog everything, and I'm not trying to clog people's brains. I'm trying to play stuff and swing sideways. And it eliminates a lot of like any sort of like ristic study effects or smothering type effects. I do not run any of those because I don't want all these extra triggers on board. I want to be punching people, which might explain why I always lose in pods when I'm with Ken, because I probably look scarier faster and he just sits there and laughs at me. So that explains a lot.
You remind me of
So
Days. You remind me of Days Woods from Family Guy. Ooh, a piece of candy. Ooh, a piece of
Oh,
candy.
100%. I'm like, I want to look at pretty cards and bonk people on the head with things. It's basically the entire philosophy of me playing any game of Commander. But kind of transitioning from that now, because we kind of talked about our general philosophy, and we've talked about our philosophy of petty. But what specifically, how do we incorporate the petty into what we love about our play styles? We kind of hinted on it a little bit, but what specifically do we try to incorporate on those decks? Are there specific cards? Do you kind of have like a set of stable cards across decks? Said, I know you play all Grixis, so you kind of play similar colors. Do you have a suite of cards that brings the petty, or is it more of a category of cards that you like to use?
So the best way to think about it, like I said, was interaction. So these cards are going to be targeting something on the board more than likely when I'm considering my petty and disrupting your play. So first thing that kind of comes to mind is, I guess honestly, now I'm thinking about it, the best way for me to kind of explain it and elaborate a little bit more is I like to play the people, not always necessarily the game. So like Ken was talking about with the psychology and whatnot, I also secretly use the psychology as well, where some of my cards are like, they're going to make you make a choice. And it's not about the card that I'm playing, it's about when I'm playing that card sometimes. So I know it sounds kind of vague, but I'm going to try to give some examples here and there. But like maybe something like when I first started playing was Reigns of Power. 2 and 2 blue instant that allows allows 2 target players to switch their creatures on the board, and they all untap and gain haste for that turn. Sometimes there's a couple of ways to play that card. When I first started playing, I would get behind a lot. I wouldn't have as many creatures, many strong creatures as the other players across the board. So of course I'm going to be behind. They'll leave me for last to kind of pick me off, and then it's like, oh, Reigns of Power, give me all those creatures. It's almost like an insurrection almost, and it's like I'm just swinging everything back at you that you accumulated to come back at you. But you did that yourself. You assumed that I was not a threat because I didn't have as big of a board state as you. So that's something I do there. Other cards that kind of force a choice. Well, not necessarily force a choice. Another card I think is just kind of fits into my petty. Derek, you're well too familiar with my new guy, John Arenicus.
Yes. Oh gosh, is it Ebon Blade Reaper? Are we talking about Ebon Blade Reaper again?
It's just Ebon Blade Reaper, the commander. Yeah, but basically, yeah. So this is how, real quick, this is how John Arenicus works. 2 and Demir. Basically, at end of your turn, you can donate one of your creatures to an opponent, put 2 1/1 counters on it, tap it, and goad it for the rest of the game. And also, it cannot be sacked as long as all those conditions have been met. And then John Arenicus has another thing on there that says that as long as a creature is attacking that I own but don't control attacks, I get to draw a card. That's neither here nor there, the draw a card part. That's not really what matters. What matters is the creatures that I'm donating over there. And Derek, for some reason, has been all too familiar with the Ebon Blade Reaper. I've had that card for a long time. For some reason, it just seemed to make friends with Derek. And when it attacks, what's the casting cost on this one? I think has a morph cost, so you can flip it.
Morph card. I don't even know the casting cost, to be completely honest. I just know the art. It's scarred into, like, ingrained into my skull, and the little sickle thing it's holding.
Yeah, it's either 2 in the black or 1 in the black, but essentially whenever it attacks, you lose half your life. Whenever it hits an opponent, they lose half their life. The part that's funny is that you just forcing someone to attack with him. Whether or not they connect or not, they're still losing half their life when they're forced to attack. And that's just a funny card to donate. I'm sorry.
All I know is All I know is John Doridicus sounds like somebody who has committed tax fraud and also takes juices inside of urinals. Funny story though. I actually walked into a bathroom one time, saw somebody doing that, and I was like, I don't even know what to do in this situation because like I don't know if they were drunk and or high, but like they made eye contact like this was supposed to be a normal everyday thing too, and I'm sitting there like, and it was like they were sitting like deep in the urinal too, and I was like, that is one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen in my life. And I literally saw people eating ranch dressing. Oh, and he had food in there too. He had food in there too. So he was complete disgusting. I'm sorry, I went off on a tangent. I'm sorry.
I'm just
Getting more disgusting by the second.
I was about to say it just got worse. It just kept getting worse.
If you take food into a bath, I don't
Yeah,
understand
let's
how
make a
people.
PSA. Ken, we're gonna pause. Let's make a PSA right now. Tell everybody.
If
Tell them.
you take, I can't even chew gum in a bathroom because you literally taking all the scents in your body with every chew. And here, first of all, hold on, sorry. Side tangent to the tangent. If you complain that a bathroom smells like boo boo, do you also complain that a bakery smells like bread or that a pizza shop smells like pizza? So, of course, a shit house will smell like shit. But let's get back to it. If you take food inside of a public restroom, you are gross. Okay?
Well,
You
especially
are
from
disgusting.
a bacterial perspective, what makes public restrooms so much worse is fun fact. I don't know if anybody knows this, but when you flush a toilet, the lid is supposed to be down. If y'all are
Yes.
out there flushing toilets with the lid up, you're literally spraying yourself in the face with actual shit, like all up in your face, particles, everything, all over the place. So if you're doing that and then just going about your life, please look, just don't touch me, please. That's all. Just don't
Oh,
get too close. That's scary.
I'm
But
glad
the
you
most
said
important
that.
thing, the thing to follow that up with public restrooms, you can't put the seat down. Like most
No.
of them just are open. So that means public restrooms are literal like snow globes of shit particles. So if you're bringing food in there, you are literally, it's like walking into a shaken snow globe
No
with
poop.
food, except the snow is poop. It's a poop globe,
Side note,
and you're
if you are
walking in
at
there
home and some of y'all when I come to y'all houses, y'all toilet seats be up and I be sitting there sketchy because y'all toothbrushes be right there to it. And I be like,
right next to it.
right next to it. Right next
Mm.
to it. Disgusting.
And
Close
people
the
wonder
toilet
why they
lid. Wonder why
they
you got
want.
pink eye.
Yeah,
Sorry.
This has been a
yeah.
shitty PSA. Okay.
Yeah, this is just an announcement for everyone. Please put the seat down before you flush. Otherwise, you know what? That's probably why so many. I wonder just that alone, how many sicknesses would stop being spread. Just like that little fun fact. Because I remember I brought that up in a public place one time, and way more people than should have been were shocked. Were looking at me like sideways. Similar to my food safety rants, which I won't go on now, but I judge
No, no,
all of
no,
you.
no, no.
I
Do
judge
it, do
all
it,
of
do it,
you.
Derek. Do it,
Next
Derek.
time.
Do
Don't
it.
Next
get me
time.
started.
Next
No, no,
time.
you gotta do it.
Next time on Derek is OCD
I'll
about
just say
bacteria.
every blood. Wait, hold up. Let me give this little
Next time
spiel.
on Derek is OCD.
Every every black barbecue has violated the Food Safety Act. I guarantee you that as we speak.
We'll get into that next time.
It's the only things I show up early to because I know I can get the food while it's fresh and not when there's things growing out of it. I'll save it for next time. Y'all use an incubator once in your life with a little bacterial plate. It'll change your life. Now, getting back on track, said one thing, and I'm surprised I even remember the point I was going to make. One thing that really sticks out to me about just in general, your decks and the pettiness is you do a really good job of being petty. You mentioned targeting cards, but not just removing people's stuff. You typically manipulate things as opposed to removing it. So it's like very rarely if you at a table, you play a lot of interaction, but you're not just blowing everybody's stuff up so the game comes to a halt. You're much more likely, I'm going to steal it, borrow it, hit you with it, or I'm going to give this to someone else and donate it. I'm going to goad it. I'm going to do this. And you always play tons of interaction, but I can't think of a ton of times where you're just blowing stuff up indiscriminately because then it's almost like the effect of if you're running 20 pieces of targeted removal that blow stuff up, it's like running 17 board wipes. Like the game's just not going to progress.
Yeah, and that's the purpose of the cards I'm playing. It's not necessarily to get rid of the card. It's to help the game progress forward. So it's like, oh, Ken just dropped a big scary monster on the table. Would be ashamed if Derek had it.
100%, and then like let them do the bidding
Right,
of
right.
it. Yeah, and I feel like that strategy gets just better with time because as more powerful stuff gets printed, you don't need to go out there and spend whatever $50 on whatever the new Ulamog is going to cost, but you can make sure someone else swings it at somebody else, and you still get the benefit without having to worry about all that.
Side
Ken,
note,
you used up all
there's
your
a
allotted time talking about shit particles. So what's your abbreviated what is your favorite petty card that like embodies petty to you in your decks?
my favorite petty card. It's anything that does like direct damage with a bunch of mana, like Bane Fire, or anything that can be countered, or anything that can be prevented. Because my thing is, I am a firm believer of you shit before you leave the room. Because if you kill me, best believe I will not go quietly into that good night. Best believe you're going to feel it. If the second you that if you kill me, I want you to know, to understand that this is going to hurt. There's no way you're going to win the game after what I do to you. So that's why a lot of people sit there struggle and they sit there and shuffle around because they're like, all right, who's gonna take Ken out? Because whoever takes him out, best believe I got open mana. And I'm gonna die. Best believe, but you're coming with me.
Let me explain. Let me go ahead and give some examples of some cards I've seen Ken get petty with. His dark magician of petty is decimate. I don't understand
Yes.
how or when this card shows up, or if it's just always in his opening hand. But it's like if you mess with Ken, best believe on his next turn, if red and green is in his color scheme, decimate is coming across the table, and 3 or 4 of those targets are coming at the person that pissed him off.
Oh, and best believe I will personally play stuff of my own to blow up. I will do that on purpose. Like sometimes you'll say, "Why did he play that enchantment?" Because it's not even doing anything. Oh, there's a reason. Because I'm gonna blow up this enchantment at 3 of your things, and I know you got. And I love it when they play. I'm play a land. I'm gonna play a soul ring. I'm gonna play this, and then I'm gonna hit you for 12 damage after I reanimate something. Okay, cool. Yeah, I want you to enjoy that. I want you to inhale that, breathe it all in, because I'm gonna set you back to the stone age. You're gonna have to make fire with sticks after I'm done with you.
I honestly think that's one of the best philosophies to have, and I've seen it can go sideways, and when people blow up your stuff or people try to take you out, don't get salty. Don't start throwing a little like temper tantrum. Just let them know in a polite way. Like, yeah, when that happens, there's gonna be a response. Because I think the mistake a lot of people make is if you're about to get taken out, it's like, oh, I'm dead anyway. I won't block. Or like, oh, you blew up my stuff. Now I'm just upset, but I don't do anything about it. So now you just made the game awkward, and you didn't teach them anything. All you taught them is like, oh, I could blow up their stuff, not get anything back. I just got to deal with them being cranky. Fine, whatever. I didn't want to talk to them anyway. Basically, I think a lot of the philosophy of Ken, what you do, and I love that, is there's always going to be that like somebody blows your stuff up, they're going to get that return. It doesn't matter if it's the most effective. It doesn't even matter if it's the most efficient. It needs to happen. And especially, I love that philosophy. I love that too. Like if someone swings out at me, I will strip mine one of your 20 lands just to let you know it might not affect you, but I was there. I made a difference. And if you end up 1 mana short on one random turn in the future, remember that it was me. I was the one who knocked. I did it. So,
Actually,
I'll transition. Yeah, sorry.
sorry, answer just real quick to add one more thing. Also, have a thing is y'all don't understand. Scooping is an instant response. So if you have something where you want to hit me so you can draw cards from combat damage or get treasures from combat damage, I'll just scoop and have you looking stupid.
I do not stand for that. Scooping is a sorcery speed thing. You do
No,
not scoop at instant speed. That is ridiculous. You do not scoop to get around game actions. That is not petty. I reject that as one of the petty
that is the
councils
definition of
council members.
petty.
It
You're
is.
part,
I think scooping's it. I am a sorcery speed scooper, which sounds a whole lot. It's like something else going on there. But I am a strictly sorcery speed scooper. I think instant speed scoops are awful.
First of all, it's not even instant speed because scooping doesn't even use a stack.
You just made that up. That is not a real rule.
Scooping
That is a
doesn't use
real
it.
rule.
Scooping doesn't use the stack, to my
It
understanding.
doesn't. As a
Yeah,
matter of
well,
fact, it,
either
it
way.
beats it beats split second. So somebody can do a crossing grip to destroy my only blocker and then swing in. And I can be like, in response to your Krosa grip, would have split second. I scoop.
Don't scoop to ignore game actions. That's my PSA. So I will kind of to get real quick into the cards that I define as petty. I think the most petty thing you can do, and you both do a really good job of this. I don't feel like it counts if you overload Psych Rift and that's you being petty. No, that's just like annoying. Or if you, oh, I cheat out a Blight Steel unblockable. That's to me that's not petty. Like you're just using a busted magic card to do busted stuff. I think it's most petty when you do something obscure or unexpected, and that's what gets them. So like one of my, I think my personal favorite thing to do is to targeted Cyclonic Rift. To I have 7 mana, I can overload if I feel like it, but no, that's not worth it. I'm going to use 2 mana to take out the thing you care most about, and that's the only thing that's going to leave. Or deck building wise, cutting Cyclonic Rift for most decks and running River's Rebuke instead. So petty wise, your entire board's going to be gone. And there's other threats there, but you are the one that needs to know that there was a problem here, that you earned this, that you deserve this.
Could you explain River's Rebuke real quick?
Yeah, so River's Rebuke is 4 and 2 blue for a sorcery that returns all non-land permanents that target player controls to their owner's hands. So it's essentially like overloaded Psych Rift for one person. And it's so brutal. It can completely set things back. And I love running it in decks with no intention to use it until someone gives me a reason. And it's not the first thing someone does to me, not the second, but as soon as they've earned it, then it's just there waiting and it's ready to go. And it is just, it's so satisfying. But
That's
I
why
will
I
say,
like that's why I like Flooded Tears, because Flooded Tears is a fair bounce spell that hits everybody.
so one thing that Flood of Tears is great. So Flood of Tears is a similar bounce spell where it's 4, I think it's 4 and 2 blue. It's going to bounce all non-land permanents, but you're able to put, if you've bounced a certain number of permanents, you can put one from your hand into play. I've seen people cheat out Ulamogs and all types of crazy stuff with this card. It's also similar to where, look, y'all have been building, that's great. I just want to play an Eldrazi, deal with it. One thing I will say that where I differ a little bit, my favorite way to be petty and to not make my decks miserable to be playing against is I love modal cards and I love cards that gives me options. So, for example, in my mono blue deck, almost every counter spell I run has the option to instead draw cards. So it's like Archmage's Charm and Mystic Confluence and Cryptic Command and all the inefficient ones where I can choose not to counter something. So that way I always have a ton of interaction in hand. So if someone really is just deserves the petty, they got it all coming for them. But I don't have to ruin everybody. I could just draw cards. I could just do other things and keep the game progressing. Because I hate running too much interaction and that's all I have, because then you feel obligated to use it. So I like the flexible stuff. So it's like I always want to be ready because I don't want to have to get ready. I need to stay ready, but I don't want to make every game miserable to play in. So I think finding that flexibility so you always have answers is a great thing to have. So I guess the last thing I kind of want to transition to as before we kind of wrap it up is, do we have a commander, like a specific commander? We've talked about different decks and this and that, and you talked about John Arenicus. Is there does a certain commander embody petty? Because we've talked about what speaks to us, but is there a commander itself that you think does a great job of embodying that petty at a base level? It could be one you play, or it might just be one that you admire from afar. Can I see you smiling? Which either means that you have just put on a different podcast and started listening to something you're enjoying, or you have a good card for this.
Or I could have just pooped my pants. I mean, either or. You don't know how I live.
Joke's on us. He's not wearing pants.
Exactly. Ha ha. But honestly, and this may be a weird one, but it's honestly Thalia and the Get Rock Monster, Princess and the Frog. And the reason why I say this is a very good petty card is because late game, when people's lives get low, I like to play this card specifically for the tap function, because people need to get creatures on their field to block them from getting hit. And this literally puts them one turn behind when they literally look up and like, I've seen it so many times where they look up and they be like, "Is Ollie out?" And like, God damn, how am I gonna stop this? Because everything comes in tap, even my creatures, and it's like, and they got to sit there, they got to make bargains with the devil. So it's a very subtle petty card, because it's like once it's played and your life is low, you better have a creature that's untapped.
Yeah, it's an underrated effect. I know OG Urabrask. So OG Urabrask is is a 3 red and a red for a creature that gives all your creatures haste, but then your opponent's creatures enter tapped. So it's like the doubling effect of I get haste, you get basically opposite of haste. And it always reads as being like, oh, it's decent. And then it comes down in a game, and it's just
it must go.
busted. Because if y'all aren't familiar with Thalia and the Gitrog monster, we could do a quick, just anybody in audio. Thalia and Gitrog is 1 in green, white, black, I believe. And then that's the one that has other effects, but most importantly, non-basic land and creatures enter tapped. Correct, Ken?
Yeah, but I think you pronounced the other creature wrong. It's called Your Ass.
Wow. Hate to the red Praetor. That's rude.
That is
You
the
never
worst
did any.
Praetor. That is the worst Praetor of them all. It is literally garbage fodder. And then now I said that some a-hole's gonna go build a deck centered around it just so they can play it against me. Then I'm gonna stump you to death with your own stupid creature.
Be careful what you ask for. You talked about Frost Titan once, and you lived to regret it. So, Sed, do you have a commander that speaks to you, really that embraces kind of that petty aspect that lets you? And if it is John Arenicus is a pretty solid choice. That might just be who you kind of see in that light.
Yeah, so I actually have several petty commanders. I'm kind of hesitant to break this one out. I'm gonna do it anyway because probably gonna talk about this on another podcast in the future. So just listen out on that. We'll give you a heads up. But I'm gonna bring out Queen Petty herself. This was actually the inspiration probably behind the petty commander motif. Okagachi. You probably don't even remember that one. I'm talking about the original.
Yeah, I remember that.
Okagachi Vengeful Kami. Yep, it's in the name. When basically the card reads for Wooburg and 1, that's the casting cost. This is a dragon that says that if you attempted to swing at me last turn, it's on. That's what it literally says in the text box. If you attempted to swing at me last turn, basically it says that if you were attacked by a player last turn, when Okagachi attacks, you can exile a permanent of theirs. So my goal when I built that deck was to be the ultimate petty commander. Basically, if you try to attack me, I may let that attack through. Because remember, Okagachi just says if you attacked me, it doesn't say if you did combat damage to me. You can attack me all you want, but you may not do combat damage to me. But best believe the crackback is coming. And
I think
maybe just one thing is going to get exiled on your side. My goal is to exile as many things because we can stack those triggers. We can double those triggers. We can copy Okagachi now because Sakashima's gotten stupid. There's just so many ways to be petty with that deck because it's like, hey, I can also build in a way where it's like where I'm going to force everyone into combat. Doesn't necessarily have to be gold. There are other spells out there in red to force combat and blue to force combat. So if you decide you want to swing at me under that force combat. Okay. Yeah, okay. Say goodbye to say goodbye to your commander next turn.
One of the ultimate you did this to yourself things. Like you 100%. You could have avoided it. You didn't have to swing at me. I agree. You know what? I hadn't thought about that before. I think Okagachi is the grandmother of petty. Is the elder of petty? However we want to put it.
The elder dragon of petty.
I think it is the embodiment of the term F around and find out. And as one of the great poets of our generation, Sir Little of John once said, won't start none, won't be none.
That's also on the card. That's the flavor text, actually. If you read it. ...
Yeah.
Okay.
Just all on the bottom of the card. You got to read very carefully. Wizard puts a lot of Easter eggs on their cards that you don't know about.
Okagachi, okay.
The last, so I'll talk about, I guess, a commander that speaks to me for pettiness. It's 2 commanders, but it's kind of like it's transitioned. It used to be my OG Vial Smasher deck, and it's become Indoraptor. And the reason why I love it is nothing is more satisfying. And for Vial Smasher, if you're not familiar, it's 1 a red and a black for a goblin that whenever you cast your first spell each turn, it deals damage equal to its mana value to an opponent chosen at random. Indoraptor kind of carries that on with an enraged trigger that says it deals damage equal to its power to an opponent chosen at random if they don't sacrifice a non-token creature. But you're saying, oh, it's random. How is this petty? To me, there's nothing more satisfying than the Lords of Chaos aligning with your petty needs. And it doesn't work every time. But when you trigger your Vial Smasher, you trigger your Indoraptor, and that person who's been wronging you the entire game, it just so happens to roll their number. It is the most satisfying moment of not only did I get you, but the universe is against you too. The universe knows you did wrong. And that is just the ultimate. It doesn't work out a lot, but when it does, that to me is the most like just warm and petty feeling ever. And I can't really explain because it's not targeted, but it gives you that level of satisfaction. Look, you not only did this to yourself, but the universe chose you. I didn't do anything. So
You
I
were
like to
the
not take
chosen
responsibility
one.
for things.
You were the chosen one. How could you?
All right, so to really close it out, because we're getting up on the end of this episode here. For listeners, one, let us know in the comments your favorite ways to get petty. If there are certain commanders you love, if there are certain cards you love that really helps you embrace that. But I think we should close it out by each of us giving a one word of advice to the listeners on how to up their petty. If we could tell them one piece of advice, whether it's a deck building piece, table etiquette, whatever it may be, what do you think you can pass on to the listeners to spread the word of petty and the gospel of Okagachi? Because that's now canon in our universe.
All right, I'll start us off.
So, yeah.
I'll just say be intentional. So you're gonna play some interaction. You're gonna play some spells here and there that might catch people's eyes, but just be intentional as far as playing those cards. Like I do hear the random aspect of petty. I don't always necessarily agree with it, but when the universe aligns, who am I to argue with the Lords of Chaos? But at the same time, I want to be intentional. So I want you, like Ken said, I want you to know that you wronged me, and I want you to know that I'm getting you back for wronging me. So this is my get back, and being intentional in that way, that means you're actually making purposeful decisions of how you can either disrupt their play or how you can set them back a little bit, or just fart in the room before you die. So I want you to know that you didn't just hit me for free. I want to get rid of one of your game pieces over there, or several of your game pieces, for wronging me in the way that you did.
I like that. I do like that. As much as I enjoy the random aspect, yes, I do agree. I think that intentionality adds, it lets them know that you mean business. Ken, do you have your closing advice for the listeners?
Yes, to quote the great Thanos, dread it, run from it. Destiny arrives all the same, and now it's here. All I have to say is you get what you put out in this world. And if you want to put out some bullshit, you gonna catch some in return. But my only thing is don't cry about it. All right. That's my only thing. When you start this and you walking down the street and Truck Coon is coming down to Izakaya behind to the refrigerator land from no return, I want you to know that you started this. You encroached first. You decided to cross the line. It goes no further. All right. Don't cry now, Cersei Lannister, now that the building is falling on your head because you started first, all right? Unnecessary roughness, and we'll get rough back.
Again, I made the mistake of going after Ken. I never learn. I'm not very bright. So my petty advice is kind of a two-parter. The first part is going to be stay engaged with your games. Like, be engaged. Because if you're not engaged in the game, if you're someone who's like off on your phone, not paying attention, doing your own thing, and then you just randomly zone in, blow someone's stuff up, and then turn away, you're just going to seem like an asshole. Like, it's not going to come off as petty. You're just like, what are you doing? Like, why did you do that? So stay engaged, be like a part of the social dynamic of the game, because it's kind of key for being petty. And the second part is, I would say, after we learn both definitions of petty, I would say incorporate both definitions. Be petty with your petty, in the sense of the other definition of petty was talking about trivial things that don't matter. I think one of the best ways to be petty is doing small things that don't ruin someone's game, especially if you're like at a GP or Magicon, whatever they're called now, and like, or if you're at a LGS and if you're playing with your close friends, like, look, us three are going to try to ruin each other's days every time we play. Like, we're going to blow up everything. We would annihilate or 20 each other if we had the chance to and not lose any sleep over it. But if you're at an LGS and stuff like that, and you don't know people, I think being petty with the petty is a great way to get it. So, for example, if you're playing like a what do you call it? Like a Soul God Lantern, you get to exile one card. The person that just did something to you, be like, you know what? I'm going to exile this one card from your graveyard just so you know I remember. Little things like that. Or I'm going to blow up this one random token you have just so you know I mean business. And it doesn't have to be this like salty, I ruin your whole gaming experience, you don't want to play again. It could just literally be those little things, and I think that's a good way to ease into the petty, to introduce yourself to the petty. And then if you just give into the dark side completely, we don't hold any responsibility, but it's a good way to start and kick off that lifestyle.
All right, so we're going to call it to a close here. How about the audience? You let us know how we're doing here. Give us some feedback. Let us know if you like the long form content. Let us know if you even like the topic. Even throw some suggestions for the next topic. We might read it. But not for real. Stay engaged. Keep in line with the petty. Join us back next time. We're going to do some more long form content here and there. Again, gauging how you guys feel about it, but also it gives us a chance to kind of really expound upon the things that we really love talking about when it comes to Magic. And of course, you get to hear Hadoken rant and ramble. So, best of.
You would know significantly less about toilet etiquette had you not gotten this long form thing, and I think that is life changing. So,
one time we do this, I'm really getting into One Piece because I believe that they don't lost their damn mind. But outside of that, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, I do want to talk about what Magic can learn from anime, but teasing the future topic. Teasing the future topic.
Yeah, hot take.
Quiet.
Take. Wait.
we cut it right there.